I choose a lazy person to do a hard job because a lazy person will find an easy way to do it. Patience is a key element of success. Innovation is moving at a scarily fast pace. My goal is to improve myself continuously. I don't know has become I don't know yet. Legacy is a stupid thing. I don't want a legacy. Most poor people live in the poorest countries. I am not in competition with anyone but myself. To win big, you sometimes have to take big risks. Money has no utility to me beyond a certain point. If you can't make it good, at least make it look good. This social networking thing takes you to crazy places. If your culture doesn't like geeks, you are in real trouble. We've got to put a lot of money into changing behavior. If you count email, I'm on the internet all day, every day. If you think your teacher is tough, wait till you get a boss. Business is a money game with few rules and a lot of risk. The protester, I think, will speak up for the world's poorest. Who decides what's in Windows? The customers who buy it. The general idea of the rich helping the poor, I think, is important. Your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning. Power comes not from knowledge kept, but from knowledge shared. We all need people who will give us feedback. That's how we improve. A fundamental new rule for business is that the internet changes everything. Our success has really been based on partnerships from the very beginning. Exposure from a young age to the realities of the world is a super big thing. In my view, investing in public libraries is an investment in the nation's future. If you are born poor, it's not your mistake, but if you die poor, it's your mistake. As we look ahead into the next century, leaders will be those who empower others. People always fear change. People feared electricity when it was invented, didn't they? It wasn't enough to deliver cheap, reliable energy for the poor. It also had to be clean. Capitalism has worked very well. Anyone who wants to move to North Korea is welcome. If I'd had some set of idea of a finish line, don't you think I would have crossed it years ago? Don't compare yourself with anyone in this world. If you do so, you are insulting yourself. There is a certain responsibility that accrued to me when I got to this unexpected position. I think any statement about stock prices is always suspect, unless it's made by Warren Buffett. The ability of a successful company to add functionality to its products has long been upheld. The most amazing philanthropists are people who are actually making a significant sacrifice. China adopted a capitalistic system in the 1980s, and they went from a 60% poverty rate to 10%. Measuring programming progress by lines of code is like measuring aircraft building progress by weight. We make the future sustainable when we invest in the poor, not when we insist on their suffering. Of my mental cycles, I'd vote maybe 10% to business thinking. business isn't that complicated. I believe that if you show people the problems and you show them the solutions, they will be moved to act. I believe in innovation, and that the way you get innovation is you fund research and you learn the basic facts. Everyone knows about Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Now help me spread the word about Giving Tuesday. I have been struck again and again by how important measurement is to improving the human condition. Whether I'm at the office, at home, or on the road, I always have a stack of books I'm looking forward to reading. If GM had kept up with technology like the computer industry has, we would all be driving $25 cars that got 1,000 miles per gallon. Given how few people actually read the newspaper, it's a good thing they'll be reading a newspaper on a screen. Until we are educating every kid in a fantastic way, until every inner city is cleaned up, there is no shortage of things to do. The belief that the world is getting worse, that we can't solve extreme poverty and disease, isn't just mistaken, it's harmful. I was lucky to be involved and to get to contribute to something that was important, which is empowering people with software. I really had a lot of dreams when I was a kid, and I think a great deal of that grew out of the fact that I had a chance to read a lot. Effective philanthropy requires a lot of time and creativity, the same kind of focus and skills that building a business requires. Technology is just a tool. In terms of getting the kids working together and motivating them, the teacher is the most important. Life is not divided into semesters. You don't get summers off, and very few employers are interested in helping you find yourself. Is the rich world aware of how 4 billion of the 6 billion live? If we were aware, we would want to help out. We'd want to get involved. The outpouring of support from millions of people in the immediate aftermath of the earthquake in Haiti has been impressive. I failed in some subjects in the exam, but my friend passed it all. Now he is an engineer at Microsoft, and I am the owner of Microsoft. The world won't care about your self-esteem. The world will expect you to accomplish something before you feel good about yourself. Flipping burgers is not beneath your dignity. Your grandparents had a different word for burger flipping. They called it opportunity. In this business, by the time you realize you are in trouble, it's too late to save yourself. Unless you're running scared all the time, you're gone. I believe the returns on investment in the poor are just as exciting as successes achieved in the business arena, and they are even more meaningful. This is a fantastic time to be entering the business world, because business is going to change more in the next 10 years than it has in the last 50. A lot of people assume that creating software is purely a solitary activity where you sit in an office with a door closed all day and write lots of code. I do think this next century, hopefully, will be about a more global view, where you don't just think, yes, my country is doing well, but you think about the world at large. You see, antiquated ideas of kindness and generosity are simply bugs that must be programmed out of our world. And yet these cold, unfeeling machines show us the way. In business, the idea of measuring what you are doing, picking the measurements that count like customer satisfaction and performance, you thrive on that. In energy, you have to plan and do research way in advance, sometimes decades in advance, to get a new system that's safer. Doesn't require us to go around the world to get all our oil. The vision is about empowering workers, giving them all the information about what's going on so they can do a lot more than they've done in the past. We will always overestimate the change that will occur in the next 2 years and underestimate the change that will occur in the next 10. Don't let yourself be lulled into inaction. A bad strategy will fail no matter how good your information is, and lame execution will stymie a good strategy. If you do enough things poorly, you will go out of business. With tech companies, whoever's the leader is always questioned, you know. They say, is this the end of them? And there's more. More times people think that's the case than it really is the case. If you give people tools and they use their natural abilities and curiosity, they will develop things in ways that will surprise you very much beyond what you might have expected. The idea that you encourage companies to take their innovative thinkers and think about the most needy, even beyond the market opportunities, that's something that appropriately ought to be done. I'm a great believer that any tool that enhances communication has profound effects in terms of how people can learn from each other and how they can achieve the kind of freedoms they're interested in. The way to be successful in the software world is to come up with breakthrough software, or so whether it's Microsoft Office or Windows, it's pushing that forward. New ideas, surprising the marketplace. So good engineering and good business are one and the same. Governments will always play a huge part in solving big problems. They set public policy and are uniquely able to provide the resources to make sure solutions reach everyone who needs them. They also fund basic research, which is a crucial component of the innovation that improves the lives for everyone. Before you were born, your parents weren't as boring as they are now. They got that way from paying your bills, cleaning your clothes, and listening to you talk about how cool you thought you were. So before you save the rainforest from the parasites of your parents' generation, try delousing the closet in your own room. As I see it, there are two great forces of human nature: self-interest and caring for others. Capitalism harnesses self-interest in a helpful and sustainable way, but only on behalf of those who can pay. Government aid and philanthropy channel our caring for those who can't pay. But to provide rapid improvement for the poor, we need a system that draws in innovators and businesses in a far better way than we do today. In the long run, your human capital is your main base of competition. Your leading indicator of where you're going to be 20 years from now is how well you're doing in your education system. Bitcoin is mostly about anonymous transactions, and I don't think over time that's a good way to go. I'm a huge believer in digital currency, but doing it on an anonymous basis, I think that leads to some abuses. So I'm not involved in Bitcoin. To create a new standard, it takes something that's not just a little bit different. It takes something that's really new and really captures people's imagination. And the Macintosh, of all the machines I've ever seen, is the only one that meets that standard. Security is, I would say, our top priority because for all the exciting things you will be able to do with computers, organizing your lives, staying in touch with people, being creative. If we don't solve these security problems, then people will hold back. In 9th grade, I came up with a new form of rebellion. I hadn't been getting good grades, but I decided to get all A's without taking a book home. I didn't go to math class because I knew enough and had read ahead, and I placed within the top 10 people in the nation on an aptitude exam. The PC has improved the world in just about every area you can think of. Amazing developments in communication, collaboration, and efficiencies. New kinds of entertainment and social media. and the ability to give a voice to people who would never have been heard.
Everybody has their own choice about what they believe in, the freedom to pursue different things. And the great thing about our society is if you're lucky enough to get a good education, then you can find that fulfillment in a variety of ways. I feel awful that many people don't get the educational opportunity that lets them pick, and so they can decide and pursue what their definition of fulfillment is.